roguelites. We love them, we hate them, mainly because we love gambling, we hate gambling. I know that you do, I know that you love gambling, but it is not good for your health, so we come back to our homes and gamble a little bit more in our games. Even though that it is still gambling, we forgive ourselves by saying it's just a healthy, nice, beautiful little game that I can play in my house. From developers Systemic Reaction, it's a game coming up this March 30th. For PC, there are no current plans for consoles, although they have released their previous games on consoles, so it's probably something that will most eventually happen in the future, but so far there are no plans. Review copy of the game was provided to me, so thank you very much for Systemic Reaction. I am going to purchase my very own copy of the game just to support developers. That being said, let's go with the review, and graphics come first. You know, the overall package feels good. It's serviceable. It's definitely not the most breathtaking experience that you will ever see, but it is of course nice to look. Although games like Mortal Shell, Bleak Forsaken have taught us that even smaller studios can accomplish great things with just a little bit of cunning. I wouldn't say that that is present here. It looks generic, but that doesn't mean that it has to be a bad thing. When you ignore the low textures, the weird weather effects that some instances of time can give you, you're left in a vast world that is just there for you. And I think that's the beauty in this game. You do not feel obligated to do this or that. It's just a sandbox that accomplishes what many seem to forget nowadays. Big, huge companies that seem to forget nowadays. But you're just that place to see, to explore, and enjoy. But we will talk about that in the gameplay section of the game. The game is bright, vivid, vibrant, and that's a matter for personal taste, you know? Maybe your eye palette has different flavors than that of mine. This is surely one of those cases where the cartoony feel would drive away some, but just feel like it's in the right place for others. I personally do not have a preference. When it's handled good, I'm game. And I think that's for most cases, this is. Sure, character models are as ugly as a kick in the balls, and they all look like they are constantly sucking a lime, but the volumetric fog, the amount of environmental things happening is just more than enough to keep me visually engaged. The game has basically all of the basic biomes that you can think of: green, fall, snow, desert, and swamp. But here's the catch. There are of course landmarks, ancient destroyed buildings or abandoned villages and whatnot, but it's just one of those games where nothing stands out. You're not going to remember that random building that you just saw 2 minutes ago because there's another one just in front of you. Not memorable locations that will make you want to go back there specifically on new runs. Once you've seen one biome for like 10 minutes, and that's being generous, that's it. That's the whole rest of it. There's some more specific issues that I had. I wouldn't be sure if this game actually has, if this game was built to support HDR. The gain luminance level of brights, whites, it's just mad. And sometimes just even plain eye hurting. And there is no option to tone or tweak or change it. This is just me every time that I saw a bright spot with HDR on. So maybe it was just my monitor trying to force the HDR in a game that doesn't support it at all, and I decided to just turn HDR off while playing the game. It looks much better that way. So now let's talk about music and sounds. Yep, it's bad. This is all over the place. Developers did tell me about some of these issues, so they might just be fixed in a day one patch or along the way, but this is the one thing that hurt my experience with the game the most. Everything is supposed to work in a synergy, to make an immersive environment where you forget about what's happening around you, just to focus on what you have in front of you, the fantasy, the dream, and the audio from this game just pulled me out of it more times than I can count. Some of these issues that they are aware of and we can expect a fix is with music not triggering when entering new biomes, new places or towns, and weapon samples not working properly. I was told that this would happen on rare occasions, but no, it happened to me during my entire 25 hours playtime. and I just got accustomed to it, and I felt it was an inherent part of the game. And again, the developers, they told me that they are aware of these issues, but it is also something that happened with the second extension game that they had. So I do not know if it's an issue with the engine on itself, but it really hurts the immersion. Hopefully this is patch day 1, because if it isn't, yeah boy, that's a big issue right there. But other than that, the audio samples, they do not feel right. Not having music made me realize that they are using the same running sample for each race, and one of them just runs in 4 legs. It doesn't sound like it. It's also not based on trigger events for footsteps. It's just feel like the sample is floating, sounding in there when you push the run in your stick until you stop, and it immediately stops, but it doesn't feel like your footsteps are triggering something. It feels more like the stick or the key that you're using to run is triggering, not the event that's happening in-game. The music is good, but then again, I wasn't able to experience the way it was supposed to be experienced. It is not something that is going to blow your mind either. It is pleasing though. While it is working, it helps to keep the wonder feeling of the world. So, yeah, there is indeed that. Now, the gameplay. Let's talk about exploration first, because this is one of the things that I enjoyed the most. As I said before, it feels amazing. This is the proper way that many developers forget about how the sandbox should be. Just you, the world, and exploration. You do not have checklists to do for completionists like me. That's really a huge issue, because I always want to check every small marker that's making noise in my world map. Zelda Breath of the Wild and Elden Ring pioneered this new way of making worlds where you can just run, immerse yourself, explore, see things, and find things. It's a bit different here, because here you'll find enemies in randomized camps. The map is not randomized, the camps are randomized. But that's good, because I do not have the necessity to open my map every 2 minutes to see where the next marker is. You can just run around, immerse yourself, and keep enjoying the scenery, if you enjoy the graphics and the scenery, which are kind of nice. I do have to say that I felt happy while running in here. Every time that I entered a new biome, I felt relief that I didn't have to listen to my anxiety telling me that I left question marks, quest icons, interesting locations, and the million markers that developers love to place in their maps behind. Sometimes a dude just needs to run, play, and smack some other dudes in the face. Right? So one thing that was a huge issue was optimization. I was running 80 FPS in some places, and then all of a sudden I would get 40 FPS in some different places, so that's a huge range. So that is most definitely going to be an issue, and I didn't find any kind of options that would help alleviate this that much. Frames were just all over the place. So there is indeed that. I was able to maintain above 60 most of the times, but yeah, the range would be way too huge. Now, talking about smacking dudes in the face, how's the gameplay? How's combat? Well, that's a hit and miss, I'd say. The basic core of combat is going to be dodges, which can perform perfect dodges, guards, and the appropriate perfect guard, which is a parry, and surge. Surge happens when you deal enough damage without being idle. It'll give you a power boost. At first the combat feels floaty, and I hate it when my hits do not feel like a proper punch to an enemy. When you start playing the poise or stagger system they have, it's weird because you have to build it for everyone, for every single character that you're fighting against, and this is also dependent on the weapons that you are using. And while the best thing to do is just dodge and parry, enemies are just way too much in your face, and since they do not get staggered, the other one that is ready to hit you, even if you did a perfect dodge, it's going to be a second one as well, because the one that you dodge is also getting ready to hit you, and they are both going to do so, because again, there is no stagger mechanic, and when they hit you, you are not going to get staggered, so you're just going to take both of the hits right in your face. So it was challenging. I can see a lot of people getting discouraged by this, But once you learn the enemy patterns and timing both for parries and perfect dodges, the game just clicks a bit more. The stagger mechanic is intended to be like this because there are cards that enhance your ability to stagger and cause poise damage on enemies. Then again, I am not a fan of it. I am not sure that this is the best developer choice that they could have made, but it is something that you will enhance while getting more cards. So, cool thing is that you can basically cancel an attack that you're doing. Anything that you are doing, you can cancel it, and you can have somewhat control of the battlefield of what's happening. It's hard getting used to this game's combat, but once you do, it feels as addictive as any other roguelike that you can find out there. Cards are cool, they provide nice synergies, and you can rely both on luck and skill if you got crappy cards in one run, and you can just keep trying to brute force your way through by sheer skill, or just, all in all, just decide to start a new run for new cards, because then again, the way that you start a run is going to be dependent on the cards that you are going to get, and if you got crappy cards, then you're probably not going to do that much better as the game progresses. So that's the gameplay loop. If you're a fan of the genre, then yeah, you're going to love it, because these types of games are addicting like that. You go beyond the next time, and every time you die you get cooler cards, cooler armor, cooler weapons and stuff to make you OP early, and sometimes you would be broken early because of good luck in your draws. Sometimes you don't, and that's the thing. That's the addictive side of things. You keep trying because your brain tells you the next round is going to be better, and there's always that feeling of wonder on what kind of cards am I going to draw next. And once you get that powerful and broken weapon and armor for the first time, you want to get them again. Just find out, trying to do so, that there are even better cards, even stronger combinations, and there's also different weapon types and races, and they do feel somewhat different and are going to kind of alter your playstyle, but the real big chunk is going to come from cards. With all of that said, what's the rating? Did I enjoy the game? I can tell you that when I started playing, I couldn't stop. I played the game non-stop, and I continue to do so. I'm getting so much enjoyment out of it. It was hard at first, and I was even mad at the combat system for a while. Now that I got good, I just want to keep unlocking new cards to get new sets, combinations, synergies, armors, weapons, relics, and whatnots. So yeah, it is immensely fun, and I think that the game has huge potential. That is why it saddens me so much to say that I cannot recommend this game to you. It took way too much for me to get accustomed to it. If you compare to other roguelites like the titan of them all, Hades, you know that you do not need gambling to be the main attractive. Hades had everything. Beautiful, gorgeous, stylish looking graphics, and a story with amazing voice acting that you felt compelled to, and you wanted to complete those addicting runs again and again and again, because the gameplay was good, the sound was good, the story was good, the graphics were stylish, it had everything. This is fun. This is a fun game because it's addicting. And if you're hungry for a new roguelite, then go for it. But everything about it, the music, the sound, the story, the gameplay hiccups, and the exploration, which is a hit and miss, all of the previously mentioned, it really brings the game down. It is a half-price game, but even then, I wouldn't be able to bring myself to recommend you to get this game, even though that I would like to, because I have been enjoying it way too much. But as a reviewer, I have to be practical and objective. And based on all of the issues that this game has, I just couldn't bring myself to recommend it to you. But then again, if you got the gameplay, you got the breakdown and everything else, so basically this is what you see on screen, what I told you about, this is what you're going to get. If you still want to get the game after that, then go for it. And if you're able to pass through all of those bridges and doors and try to maintain and be stable in the game, and if you're a fan of the genre and you just want to play it because of that, and you're most definitely going to enjoy it. I just cannot bring myself to recommend this game. Anyways, if you like the content, if you like the information, Liking the video is super appreciated. Subscription to the channel as well. No one told you that you're gorgeous and beautiful person. You are indeed gorgeous and beautiful, beautiful person. I will be seeing you goddamn gorgeous and beautiful people in the next one. And goodbye.